Welcome to r/OffMyChest. I'm about to share something very personal, a story that's been weighing on me for years. This isn't an easy thing to say, and it might be hard to hear, but I need to get it off my chest. What I'm about to tell you involves an accident, a tragic mistake, and a friend I lost because of it. If you're sensitive to stories about loss, guilt, or trauma, please be prepared. This is my truth, raw and unfiltered. I've kept this secret for far too long, and finally, I'm ready to speak it aloud. The pain hasn't lessened, and the questions still haunt me. I'm sharing this because maybe someone out there understands, or maybe it will help me find some peace. This is the story of how I accidentally killed my friend. My friend and I grew up together in a small town. We met when we were kids, and from the start, we were inseparable. His name was Jake, funny, smart, and full of dreams. We'd ride our bikes to the park, play video games for hours, and share secrets no one else knew. Jake wasn't just my friend. He was like a brother to me. He had big plans for the future, college, a career in graphic design, maybe even traveling the world. I admired his passion and determination. Jake was the kind of person who cared deeply about everyone around him. Whenever someone was down, he'd find a way to make them smile. We grew up dreaming side by side, talking about what we wanted to be and where we'd go. He was loyal and kind, always putting others first. Our friendship was a constant through all the chaos of growing up. Losing him feels like losing a part of myself, but I want to tell the whole story, starting from those early days, the bond we shared, and how much he meant to me. The night before everything happened felt normal at first. Jake and I had planned to hang out at his house after a long week. We wanted to relax, maybe watch some movies, and just forget about school and work for a while. We were both tired but excited for some downtime. Jake was in a good mood, joking around like usual, but I noticed he seemed a little restless, like something was on his mind. I didn't press him, but looking back, I wonder if that was the first sign of trouble. We talked about the future, joked about how we'd still be friends in 10 years, no matter what. Everything seemed fine, but there was an edge to the night. Maybe too much drinking, maybe too much bravado. I remember hesitating when he offered to drive us to the store. Part of me thought, maybe I should say no. But I didn't want to ruin the mood. I trusted him. We laughed and argued about which music to play, and he assured me he was fine behind the wheel. I didn't want to be the buzzkill. As we got into the car, I felt a strange mix of excitement and unease, like I was about to cross a line I couldn't come back from. That feeling stuck with me, even though I didn't know why yet. We left the house under a sky that was already dark, the streetlights flickering on one by one. Jake was behind the wheel, humming along to the radio, and I felt the warmth of the car's heater against my skin. The smell of his cologne mixed with the faint scent of cigarette smoke lingered in the air. The road was slick from earlier rain, glistening under the headlights. I remember watching the trees blur past the window, thinking how peaceful everything looked. As we turned onto the main road, I noticed a car coming from the opposite direction. It was going too fast. But not so fast to seem reckless, just enough to make my stomach tighten. Jake laughed off my concern, tapping the steering wheel confidently. Then, suddenly, I heard a loud screech of tires, metal crunching, and a horrible, sharp bang. The world spun sideways. My body jerked violently, thrown against the door. The sound of shattering glass filled the air, followed by a ringing in my ears. Time slowed. I could feel my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. The smell of burnt rubber and fuel burned my nose. Jake was silent, his face pale and frozen. I tried to move, but my limbs felt numb. Panic clawed at me. "Jake!" I called out, voice trembling. No response. I heard a weak groan. It was him, my friend. My heart shattered. The car came to a sudden stop, tilted slightly on the side of the road. I couldn't believe what had just happened. My hands shook as I reached toward Jake, trying to open the door. The seatbelt was stuck. He looked at me with eyes I'd never forget. Scared, hurt, confused. I wanted to scream, to fix everything, but I was frozen. That moment stretched endlessly, like the world held its breath. I fumbled for my phone, hands trembling so badly I almost dropped it. My fingers dialed 911 before I even fully realized it. "Help! Please, my friend. We've been in an accident," I stammered, voice breaking. The operator's calm tone felt distant, like a lifeline, but also impossibly far away. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. I kept trying to reassure Jake, but my words sounded hollow even to myself. "Hang on, Jake. Help is coming. Please don't leave me." I gripped his hand, trying to stop it from shaking. His breathing was shallow, every inhale a struggle. When the paramedics arrived, they moved quickly, carefully extracting Jake from the wreckage. I was pushed back, desperate and helpless. The police arrived shortly after, questioning me in a blur. I barely answered, unable to focus through the shock. All I could think about was how close we'd been, how I never imagined this would be the end. The hospital was a blur of white walls, faces I didn't recognize, and the cold beep of machines. Hours passed like days. When they finally told me Jake didn't make it, I felt the world collapse beneath me. Guilt swallowed me whole. How could this have happened? I kept replaying every second, every choice. What if I'd said no to the ride? What if I'd been more insistent? Helplessness weighed heavy. I couldn't save him, and now he was gone because of me. I was broken. The police investigation started quickly but felt incomplete. They took my statement and inspected the car, but I could tell they were already leaning toward ruling it an accident. There was no sign of reckless driving, no alcohol in Jake's system, and the other driver wasn't at fault. Still, the unanswered questions haunted me. Why did it happen? Was there something we missed? The case went to court a few months later. The other driver, a young woman new to driving, was given probation. No jail time, just community service. The judge said it was a tragic accident, and no one was truly to blame. I sat in the courtroom, numb, unable to argue or speak. The legal process felt cold and impersonal, like it was designed to move on quickly rather than find justice. I left the courthouse feeling empty and angry. How was this justice? Jake's life was gone, and the driver's life was barely affected. It didn't feel fair. The system didn't seem to care about the pain left behind. I wanted to scream, to make someone listen, but all I could do was swallow my anger and grief. Over time, I realized this wasn't just about blame or punishment. It was about understanding what happened and learning to live with the loss. The investigation gave me facts, but it didn't heal the wound. Justice felt out of reach, and the guilt grew heavier every day. After the accident, the guilt settled over me like a heavy fog that never lifted. I kept replaying that night over and over in my mind, searching for any moment I could have changed. Was there something I missed? Could I have stopped Jake from driving? These questions haunted me day and night. Sleep became a stranger. Nightmares took hold, dragging me back to the crash again and again. I'd wake up gasping, drenched in sweat, heart racing. Flashbacks would hit without warning. A sudden sound or a scent would pull me back to that terrifying moment. Sometimes I'd freeze, unable to move, reliving the panic and helplessness all over again. My family noticed the change. I withdrew from everyone, pushing away friends and loved ones. Conversations felt hollow, and I was afraid to burden anyone with my pain. Sometimes I pretended everything was fine, but inside I was breaking. The weight of responsibility crushed me, and I felt so alone. Even when people asked how I was doing, I couldn't find the words to explain what I was going through. Talking about it felt like opening a wound I wasn't ready to face. I wanted to hide the guilt, to pretend it wasn't real. But no matter how hard I tried, it always lingered, whispering that I was somehow to blame for losing my best friend. The emotional struggle spilled into every part of my life. School, work, relationships. I was constantly exhausted, but couldn't rest. Sometimes I'd snap at people for no reason, unable to handle their well-meaning questions or advice. I didn't want their pity or judgment. I just wanted the pain to stop. The truth was, I didn't know how to forgive myself. The accident had changed me in ways I couldn't fix, and I wasn't sure if I ever would be whole again. Certain moments still catch me off guard, like echoes from the past. A song on the radio, the sound of screeching tires, or a passing car's headlights can pull me back to that night. My heart races, and I'm flooded with memories I thought I'd buried. Sometimes I imagine what life would have been like if things had gone differently. What if Jake hadn't insisted on driving? What if I'd convinced him to stay home? These what-ifs twist inside my mind like a maze I can't escape. They keep me awake at night, whispering regrets I can't silence. There are days when I catch myself glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see him walking beside me. I reach out to touch the empty space where he used to be, and the reality hits me hard. He's gone. Even small reminders can trigger waves of grief. Passing his favorite restaurant, hearing his laugh in a crowded room, or finding a forgotten photo can send me spiraling into a mix of sadness and longing. The emotional weight feels as heavy now as it did that first night. These moments remind me that healing isn't linear. Some days, the pain is manageable. Other days, it overwhelms me like a storm. But no matter what, Jake's absence is a shadow that never leaves. For years, I kept this story locked away inside me. I was afraid of judgment, blame, and reopening old wounds. Sharing the truth felt like exposing my darkest secret, and I wasn't ready. I thought silence might protect me and those who loved me, but the weight of carrying it alone became unbearable. The guilt, the loneliness, and the pain pushed me to finally speak out. I wanted to honor Jake's memory by telling the truth, no matter how hard it was. I hoped that by sharing my story, others who had experienced loss or guilt might find some comfort or understanding. It wasn't easy. I worried about how people would react, if they would see me as weak or worse, responsible. But the fear of staying silent was greater. I needed to stop hiding and start healing. Now I'm asking for compassion, not judgment. Everyone carries their own pain and regrets, and sometimes all we need is to be heard. This is my story, raw and honest, and I hope it can spark conversations about grief, responsibility, and forgiveness. The accident didn't just take Jake's life, it changed mine forever. It taught me how fragile our time is and how quickly everything can unravel. But it also showed me the power of resilience and the importance of facing our darkest moments head-on. I've learned that guilt is a heavy burden, but it doesn't have to define us. Forgiveness, especially of ourselves, is a difficult journey, but it's necessary for healing. Holding on to blame only traps us in pain, while acceptance can open the door to peace. To anyone listening who has experienced loss, grief, or guilt, know that you are not alone. Your feelings are valid, and it's okay to seek help. Talk to someone, whether it's a friend, counselor, or community. Sharing your story can lighten the load and bring connection. Most importantly, be kind to yourself. Life is messy, painful, and unpredictable, but it's also filled with hope and second chances. Jake's memory lives on in me, and I carry him with me every day, not as a source of guilt, but as a reminder to live fully and love deeply. Thank you for listening to my story. If it moves you, please share it or reach out. Healing begins when we break the silence.